We're ready to go. We're doing
Ready to
it.
go. So, oh my gosh. Okay. So, Tanya MFK, please share what the MFK stands for because it's quite the mouthful.
It's quite the mouthful. Yeah. So MFK is Marie Figueres Kreisinger. So again, Marie Figueres Kreisinger, that's why I'm Tanya MFK. And it's a mouthful. It's hard to spell. It's hard to say. And so Tanya MFK was way easier. We all know those letters for the most part, and they kind of sound badass. So there we go. I'm allowed to say that.
Tanya, I have to say, I'm honored. I'm thrilled. I'm excited. You're brand new to Substack.
I
This is your first Substack Live.
It's hello. I am. I'm really excited to be here. I mean, this is a medium that I talk to a lot of my clients about, we work with, and I really, really enjoy it. But I have not had a chance to dive into it myself. And I think that's a really good even note right there is like, there's a lot of awesome things. It doesn't mean we can do all things at all the time. And so I'm really excited to have the opportunity to jump in and have you guide me, Liz, to be here. So thank you.
Woohoo! I'm so honored. I'm so glad you chose to do your first Substack Live with me. All right. Tanya, when we were talking about what are we going to cover today in our podcast/live, we really, of course, settled very quickly on this idea of a values-based business because you're a business coach. That's how I know you. And I work with a lot of farmers and sometimes help coach them in their business practices, right? So
Yeah.
it's really
Yeah.
about getting to the crux of that values-based business, but it's not just business, right? What is that? How do you extrapolate? How do you expand that
Yeah.
to life? And how does that fit together?
How does that? Well, and I think what inspired a lot of this conversation between the two of us is in the work that you do, Liz, and anyone, watching and paying attention. I mean, there is such a heavy influence, obviously, of values, of commitment, of belief, of what goes in to show up and to fight for these things, to work for these things, to advocate. It's a lot. You're jumping through hoops. A lot of us don't want to jump through, right? And then it's a business on top of that, and that deserves, I think, a spotlight. It takes a moment to say it's one thing to fight for the thing we want. It's another thing to run the business in that. And there can be a lot of conflict, I think, in business and the way, what works and all that to go with who we want to be and how we want to show up. And so when I think about all the work that you do and all the things that it takes to show up and have conversations and to do that, and also pick your mail platform and just something that you're going to write in an email this week. It's so important to make sure they stay aligned because if you're showing up in this space where you're helping people and advocating, and then you're needing to like do something manipulative just to make the business work, it disconnects us at the heart. Yeah. I mean, you can see just in your face, it's like, oh, it feels so gross. And so to highlight, I think the way what it takes to walk in this space and this spirit, and that it doesn't have to suck your life away either, but that it is a different approach when you literally live what you do. And a lot of it, I think, was really inspired. This conversation was inspired by you, Liz, of who you are, because that's what I see that you do. I mean, you live what you do. And it's not easy. It's not easy.
That's for sure. But so do you, Tanya, right? I mean, one of the things that really attracted me to you to begin with is, we can go down this path as much or as little as you want, but your groundedness, your foundation in the fact that lives have trauma. And if we're running a business, we have to consider that in that business plan. Like, I've studied enough and read enough as you have, and we're in this world. So we see do your 6-figure launch in 10 days. And just like, shut up. My so-and-so just died, or this just happened. And no, or I want 8 hours of sleep a night. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a foundation that's mixed up in the way business has been done. And I just wrote an article about this, kind of the old adage of, hey, it's just business. There was this separation from human and business, right? And I think we're seeing it very alive today in the world and all of these things of what it means to separate humanity from business to go, hey, a dollar's a dollar. I got to make a dollar. And I think, and it's unfortunate, but I think the belief that's also permeated is that that is the only way and that you can't make it the other way. You can't make it with balance. You can't make it with kindness. You can't make it with compassion. You got to be cutthroat. And there's some magic answer out there that if you just post on Facebook this many times, it's going to work. And that's not it. Like, what works, like you said, is when I'm rested, I've had 8 hours of sleep, when I'm happy with my family and the way things are happening in my home, when the conversations with my clients feel good. Those are the things that bring out a powerful business and that they can be one and the same. We just have a lot of old rhetoric to kind of sift through, right?
Yeah, and Tanya, I am so sick and tired of that whole just do this, like follow
Yeah.
this formula. I mean, and not to say
Yeah.
like I know you have a lot of formulas that are ideas and suggestions, but this promise that somehow like, oh yeah, post 11 times a day to 6 different
Yeah.
platforms and no, because I've seen businesses do that are failing.
Yeah. And
So
that's the thing is that it is a false narrative. And I mean, that's a nice way to say it. I think I wrote an email a couple of weeks ago and I literally said, it's a lie. It's a flat out lie. It's not a marketing tactic. It is a lie. There is not a tactic or hack that will make the business work. There are ideas that can highlight a good business. But there is nothing, and no ad, no anything else will magically make your business work. All it will do is highlight what's either working or not working, which means if your business isn't doing well, it doesn't make sense. An ad will highlight that, right? And those
yes.
pieces are, and I think like when we balance between, because I know this conversation is a balance between business and life, it's like it gives this idea that there is a right way. And I think most of us can live in this world knowing there's not a right way, like there's not a black and white step on how to live the life. Well, guess what? It's not for business either. That's why innovation exists. It's because there isn't one way. And then somebody goes, hey, you know what really worked? Spamming the heck out of everybody and having pop-ups all over. Remember that? Speaking of we were saying the 80s, but let's talk about the 90s and 2000s for a minute. That was the way to do it, right? I mean, who remembers clicking the wrong button and having like 25 ads pop up at once, right? For those of us who remember the late 90s, that was considered a business strategy. And guess what? We don't do that anymore. We started to go, oh, that people didn't like that. But there was a part where it worked. And people said, oh, but I'll try, but it works. And somebody felt really bad about doing that. And then they did it because somebody told them it worked. And that's what we want to change.
Yeah.
Is that we don't have to be limited in that space, that we can bring our humanity into it. We can live in balance and values and still work towards building a business and create and support, because business is really just a service. We are giving a value and asking for value in return.
Yes.
Right. And when we can, yes.
But we're also, I mean, and this is where like there's something on the edge here that I don't quite know how to explain or even quite know what I'm feeling about it. But it's values that we've commodified and we're exchanging monetarily now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's a whole separate conversation. It probably is, because the commodification of everything and then
Yeah.
monetizing it and putting a monetary value to something that might not have a monetary value. I mean, what is it worth to have a beautiful dinner with beautiful friends, right? Some things can't be measured in the way that we want to measure all of these things.
Yeah.
And
Well, not everything needs to be commodified, like you said. I share a story quite often about how I, blow my own whistle or horn here. Like, I put on pretty good events. Yeah, I love doing like centerpieces and decorating, and like I love the whole vibe. Like, I want you to feel like when you walk in an event or even just like literally just a birthday party, I want you to feel like you've been whisked away to whatever theme it is that I have and I've done. And so many, many years ago, what makes sense? I should be an event planner. Oh, that makes sense. I'm good at it. I like doing it. And then, thankfully, I had come long enough in my life to know to evaluate and go, wait a minute, what is the life I want to live? And the life I had that time was very clear I wanted to live was one that didn't work on weekends or holidays. At that time, I was working in clinical research, and I would have to show up on holidays. I would be working late nights, and Saturdays have to come in with patients sometimes. And I hated it so much. And then I went, wait a minute, when do people do events? Holidays and weekends. So like I would commodify something because I'm good at it without actually thinking about the life I want to live. And that's where we get stuck. And we see the opportunity and we forget about the life we want. What is the opportunity for? And it's
Yeah.
to live the life we want. And comes back full circle to why living the values of your business with your business are so powerful. Having it rooted in that. I don't care if you're going to tell me that spamming all those people work. If it doesn't feel right, isn't rooted in a line, I don't want to do that. If it makes me feel icky and I put it off and it makes me not want to do part of my day, that's a problem. Like that's not an aligned business, right? And there are other ways.
I mean, it's such an important point, and I want to make a distinction here, but that still means we sometimes have to do hard things. We still sometimes have to do things that we don't like. But when we can identify that this action is a values-based action that's getting me closer to this values-based goal of weekends that are not spent on turning out emails, whatever it is, then
this is the perfect example. Sorry, I got excited, but so that's the thing. You may not have to write a manipulative email, but you need to write an email, right? And you might want to have the weekend off. So you're going to suck it up and you're going to write like 4 emails right now. That might not be your idea of a great day, but you're not betraying your values. And in fact, you're pushing it to make sure that you live the one you want, which is family time or whatever that might be for that weekend. Reading your book, I don't care what it is, but that's the difference, right? The difference is about, I think this is the kick I've been on, is that running a business is not about the end result. The same way that having your career is not about the end result. Having a career is not about the retirement day, right? Supposedly, that's not supposed to be it, right? Well, and having your business is not about the big business payoff or whatever bank account we think we're going to have in the end. Just like we're able to understand in life, it is the journey. And what that means is that, Liz, you deserve to sleep today, right? Tanya deserves to read the book she wants to read today, not when the bank account is full, but today. And yet we've been living in a world that tells us we have to justify that until we have enough money in the account to say we're successful.
Right. And at the same time, I want to be clear that I know Tanya very well here, and Tanya is the first advocate for getting your ducks in a row, getting organized. You're not reading 10 books to escape doing your business work or escape balancing your budget. You're doing it as part of that plan.
Yeah.
And in the work I do with farmers and small food businesses, right? It's the same thing. And it's, Tanya, as you're talking, as I'm thinking about this, I keep going back to the question, what are people for? And, farmers will come to me. Farmers, a lot of them don't have a background in marketing, which is fine because they've got a background in farming, and I want them to have that background in farming. Yes. And one of the first questions they'll ask me is, how many times a day should I be posting to social media? I'm like, well, is that the most fun thing for you? And they're like, no, I hate it. I'm like, then don't do it. That's not how you're going to get your clients. But then on the other hand, some of them are like, yeah, I actually really like it. And I'm like, okay, then make sure you're measuring the right thing.
Yes.
Your business is not about how many likes you get on Facebook. It is not about how many retweets you get, whatever they're calling it now. Your business is about how many people are buying your carrots or your cheese or your steak.
Yeah. How many people are showing up to actually be part of it and be customers? And I love, the social media is such a good example because there are people who legitimately do not feel aligned with social media. And that's okay. That's not the only way. Yes. Perfect example. Here we are on Substack because Substack feels better. And it enhances your amazing writing length and a space for your voice. And it's a space for discovery. You do not have to do social. Now, like your other client who said, oh, I actually do like it. but they might be frustrated because it's frustrating because you don't know what to post. Now, there's a difference between I don't like it because I don't know what to do versus I don't like it because it sucks my soul, are very different things, right? And knowing where you are in that spectrum and then working with that. And I think this comes back full circle to that idea that well, you just have to do this, or there's some magic way. And just like with the farmers, just like in farming, there's no magic way. Let's go to the real root of things. Like, you can say this will work this, but we have to talk about what area they're in, the climate, the soil health. There's all this other stuff. So you could say, well, you just stick a seed on the ground and water. But that's not it. There's so much more. And any business coach who says just, put a post up and that's your business, it doesn't work that way, right? And I think that's the thing too. In the both of the work we're doing is that they're farmers first. And then you're honoring that when you're advocating and you're working for them. You're going, I'm not only going to work with what's going to help you grow or get through this situation you need to get through or fight for, or whatever it is, but I'm going to honor and understand what you also need to do and maintain as a farmer, as a person who's doing this as a lifestyle, not lifestyle, I mean, but you know what I mean? Like, this is life. You can't tuck that away and be like, oh, I need to focus on social media, no farming today. Like, it doesn't happen like that. And so to have someone like you who understands the values they're walking in, as well as the business they need to create, is so, so important and necessary in this space.
Yeah, and that's the same for you. In the clients you attract, you're a values-based business coach. And so you attract the clients that are doing this incredible work, like caring for elders and permaculture and farming and combining, bringing teams together cross-culturally.
Yeah.
It's that
And people who are really into it. I think like their heart is really into it.
Exactly.
I mean, we have a gal, as you know, who she makes cakes, and you might go, okay, well, it's cakes. But man, like the care this woman has for who she's making these cakes for, and like the level of involvement she gets involved to make a cake. And it's like, that's the payoff for me, is the people I work with. I get to work with people who inspire me. And it's incredible, and it's tough because it makes me want to do all the things with them because like,
I know.
so big and like it's hard to cut off. But like, that's what changes business. I think that's what changes the approaches that we have in the work that we do, Liz, is that it isn't just a means to an end. It isn't just a job. It's not just because you're good at it, and you are. Right. But it's like there's a belief in there. And I think that is the key, that if you step into a business with that, when the going gets tough, that's the thing that's going to pull you through.
Exactly.
It's that.
Exactly. Yep. And, the first thing I tell the farmers I work with is like, why are you doing what you're doing? You have to identify this. And I remember one time I was working with a farmer and she wanted to grow her sales. And I kept pushing her to answer that question. Like, why are you doing this? Like, your husband's working full time. You can be doing these other things. She owned multiple businesses, not in like some elitist kind of way, but like small scale businesses that she could highlight. So I'm like, clearly you're not doing this because you have to do farming for income. So why are you doing this? And she was farming really diverse animals and crops. And she was like, oh, so my children and grandchildren have a place to play. I was like, you could take, you don't have to be farming to do that. And she kept giving me these answers that were not untrue, but also not the substance of what she was. And then finally she goes, because I believe every animal deserves a happy life and I want to provide it. And I'm like, that's why you're doing this. And, that for herself, like keeping that vision and that mission and keeping rooted in that, she could always return to that and understand the purpose of her values-based business, which in that case, of course, was farming. And just having that, doing that exercise and having that insight helps guide people, like, because you're right, some of those rainy days suck. Or those days when all the technology breaks down or all the vendors call and they're like, nothing's working and why are sales down and why this? And it's all complaints and you're like, it's not worth it. But then you go back to that big reason. Like, why? Why are you doing this? You're like, this is why I'm doing it. So That was a big
That's it. And that's going to
follow-up.
keep you through. And that's why one of the things we do is we do the 7 levels of why, and we go to, what is it that you want in the business? And I don't care what it is. And it's a BMW, it's a number, usually it's some 6-figure number or whatnot. And then go, why is that important to you?
Right.
And then they go, well, because I want to take care of myself or I want to take care of my family. And you go, and why is that important to you? Because I want them to know that they're safe and that I care for them. And why is that important to you? And when you start to really dig to that 7th level and you get to like you can exactly be, oh, they're the thing and I want to be happy. Then you're like, that's it. That's the thing. And when those days get hard and the tough gets going, it's not going to be because I want a comfortable life or because it'd be nice to go on good vacations. I'm not against those motivations, but the underneath of that is the thing that when those technology buses and you're yelling at Google, never done that before in my life, except for all the time. Then that's the thing that keeps you going and moves you through. And that is why I tell people a lot of times too, that if you're looking for like kind of a widget business, I'm all for that. Like, you want to white label something and go sip Mai Tais on Tahiti. Like, that sounds amazing. I am the wrong coach for you because we're going to talk about heart stuff. We're going to talk about these whys. We're going to get to that stuff. And that'll drive you crazy if you're like, oh, I want a Mai Tais. I don't know how deep we can get into your Mai Tai why. But for the rest, it's like when we can get through that and we really can understand that we aren't separate from our business. It's not about letting your life take over, but it's understanding that your life informs your business and your business informs your life. And the moment we're naive about that, that's the moment business will take over your life. Right. And that's when you start to suffer your business. And is that why we left 9 to 5? To not suffer our 9 to 5s? Like, that's the whole thing. So we don't want to suffer that business. And to make sure that we come back. And if you're hearing this and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I've done any of that. The easiest thing might be to start with the motivation, the 7 motivation. What is it that you want from this business? You don't have to have some lofty changing the world thing, but understand what it is for you, what it really, really represents. And even in the concept of freedom, I'm going to stop there because some people go, it's freedom. I want you to really understand, what is that? What is the freedom in that you wanted this business for? And if that is it, that is the best it to have, because that will be the thing that carries you through. Because it will get tough. It's not easy. And that's, I think, circling us back around, if you're just getting here, circling us back around to the concept of business was that, we get sold these magic hacks. We get sold these ideas that there's some right way to do it. And that's the whole thing around you, is that it is none. It is the BS. It is our way. It's our clarity. It's knowing that we can do it in a way that feels freeing to us, as long as we know what that North Star is. But if we don't connect to that, then it's going to be easy to hear everyone else's version of success and the way to do it. And it'll take our life away. It's not the life we want to live. But if we don't know what that life is, it's easy to lose it.
So beautifully said, Tanya. Oh my gosh, I love it. Like, I know, like, I've heard this a similar, I know you don't have any canned spiels, but I've heard this from you before, and I just let it sink in every time because it's so key. It's vital. It's like, if you want your life to be aligned to these core values, that applies to business also.
Yeah. And it's not
Really
easy. Like, I will scream that real quick, like in the nicest way. Like, I think I was going on that a bit too. It's like, we get sold these answers. It is not easy. And I will tell people over and over, I will not sell you easy. I will not sell you, but I will sell you effective. I will sell you joy, because that's the thing. It's not easy. It's not easy to pull us together. A 9 to 5 isn't easy, and entrepreneurship isn't easy. And anyone who goes on their soapbox saying entrepreneurship is better, it's not. It's a different flavor. That's all it is. It's the same heart. We have the heart. It doesn't come without it. It's not the same heart. It's a different heart. But we all get heart, and it is. And there's no magic things. If it was, why would we even be sitting here, Liz? We'd be out on our yachts or doing whatever, because, hey, I followed the right path. I posted 6 times. I wrote it this way. I did the thing. I'm good. Like, that's not it. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Absolutely worth it. And what it pushes you to find out about yourself. It's such a personal thing as well, but we forget, like, it's this whole self-development journey, isn't it?
It really is. It 100% is. And Tanya, a lot of what you're saying reminds me of something I say a lot, which is, and I know, like, I'm going to contradict myself as soon as I say it, and that's okay. It's part of it, but facts don't matter, right? And that's not to say that facts aren't important. They are. But what it means
Yeah.
is that we are, and your foundation in neuroscience teaches this, we are emotionally driven beings. We
Yeah.
make decisions based on emotions. We do it. The people we're selling to do it. It's happening to us. I mean, right? So in some ways, like, facts are important, but they don't matter when it comes to that decision making. We go back to facts to justify an emotional based decision we've made already about, are we going to read that book? Are we going to buy that product? Are we going to connect with that person? Are we going to
Yeah.
believe this thing? And I mean, this is both a piece of guidance and a piece of caution, I think, because as entrepreneurs, as business people, we're making decisions about how to communicate with potential customers, with clients. And I believe really strongly, I know you do too, that it's our responsibility to communicate honestly, not manipulatively, not like trigger, push their buttons, get them to buy. It's our responsibility not to do
Yeah.
that, right? And at the same time, part of why I say facts don't matter is because I can have all the facts about how to run a good business and still not do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where your kind of work comes in. And whether it's like your habit setting, or simply like, okay, Liz, you owe me an email at the end of every week. What did you do your goal? Like, sometimes that's enough that it doesn't matter, like, the fact that, hey, gotta I need to do this on Tuesday. Like, that is not enough sometimes for all of us. We have to have that email at the end of the week. Did you get it done? Right? So speak to that for a minute, Tanya. I just gave a
Yeah,
whole
I mean, I think a lot of what I like to remind people, yes, I'm a business coach, I'm a strategist, I've been doing this for 21 years, and yet I will tell people the ultimate flex as a business owner is self-trust. Is when you have done enough work internally to know yourself, to know when you freak out, you tend to think you need to send more emails or post more or whatever it is. And but also to know, like, I'm in this for a reason, right? Like, Liz, you're here for a reason. And I don't mean in the existential view of things, but I mean, you've been and walked this path. You have learned so many things that you've learned. You know what you know. And other people don't know that. And to trust that as also a guiding space of your business, to not always go, what should I post? To go, what do these farmers need? Like, I've told clients this a lot, the same, similar, right? How often should I email? And I'll say, I want you to take off your business and marketing hat for a moment. All right. And I want you, as the person who's supporting these people, go, how often do they need to hear what you're going to say? How often is it helpful to tell them the things you're going to show up and tell them? If every day you're sending a quote, are the people you work with, do they benefit if they got that quote every day? So stop thinking about a business and go, you know what? When I've worked with people, man, I know sometimes you just need that extra. I'm using a quote as an example, everybody, but you get that little thing. They don't need a whole email. They just need that little encouragement that you might recognize that daily quotes are actually the exact thing. They don't need a long email. On somebody else, you go, you know what? They need it in depth. I noticed they really need to dive deep. I don't know your business, but I'm telling you, you do. You know a lot more than you think you do. And too often we are diverting out to people like me or to coaches and going, tell me. And instead going, forget what LinkedIn says and forget all that. Yes, it's valid. Like Liz just said, facts are true and not true, right? All this stuff is there, but forget it for a moment and go, I'm the person. What have I learned? Or if you are your former client, if you're like, oh, my client is former me, go, what did I need? What would have helped me? What would help me in my inbox now? For emails or posts or whatever your thing is. And to remember that self-trust is that ultimate flex, is to remember that success and that journey of trusting who you are. And the other thing of that, Liz, I think is a big part of my work, what you were talking about, is that I push you to look at yourself first. So one of the things we do is we look at what is the reality of your life? What is your time look like? And what do you really want and why? Right? It's back to that motivation, like, oh, I want to fit into the skinny jeans. Why? Because I like to look nice in them. Why? Because I'll feel better. Why? And then it comes down to, I want to take care of my family. And then you're like, okay, that's what we can work with. Now, now if that's your version of success, what does that look like every day? What feels good to you? Because that person who is gathered up, who is nourishing themselves physically, mentally, emotionally, that person runs a successful business. Not the burned out person, not the stressed person, not the 10Xer, make it all happen. Like that stuff is so fleeting. I can cite examples day and night about that. But the
Well,
people who are sticking through have focused on them.
and what it makes me think of, Tanya, is like you're saying, the people whose underlying why is, I want to be healthy and take care of my family. And they're working so hard to make their business successful that they're getting 3 hours of sleep a night, spending most of their time away from their family, stressed out
Yeah.
all the time, giving themselves thyroid cancer, whatever, in pursuit of this goal that they're like just bulldozing over in the process,
Yeah.
like trying to get there. And I get it too, because we all have some kind of driving anxiety over like whether it's paying the mortgage or getting our kids into private school or whatever that is. We have real needs. We have real financial needs. And
Yeah.
we also have those real feelings of like, well, when I get the beach house, that will be success. We have something in
Yeah.
mind of that, whatever that might be. But I almost want to say, do the means justify the ends? Is that the right way of framing?
Right. No, let's talk. This is so great. And I think we'll have to wrap up soon. It doesn't matter to me. You let me know. But this is like the crux of really how all this started. And I think where we come and converge so much in life and business and the things that we're doing is this. So if you hear nothing else, anyone watching this, I want you to hear this. So for those of you who don't know my story, I'm going to go into that a little bit, Liz. My background's in clinical research. I grew up in extreme poverty. And so by the time I got into a career, I held on to it like nailed, biting the whole thing. I wasn't going to let that go. And so I did all the things. I worked the 16-hour days. I missed the family. And every waking moment that I had outside of work was pushed to create some perfect future life. I used to fax like a to-do list to my husband. And it was a minute by minute. And I kid you not, from the moment I would get home, I would have a minute by minute till the time we went to sleep of what needed to get done. So, and there were bathroom breaks. Like that's how serious I was. So anyone listening, like I was literally psychotic. Okay. And by the way, the bathroom breaks were 3 minutes long because I felt like that was reasonable at the time. So, so that was what I was doing. I was doing that. Before 10X and bro marketing was a thing, I was living my life that way because in my head, you ends justify the means. I had grown up in such poverty. I'd watched people use that as an excuse or give up because of it. I'm not saying an excuse, but other people go, it's too hard, or other people go, well, I don't have to try. And I was on that mission to make it happen. And I believed that you suffer now because later on, someday in the future, then you can enjoy it. Then it'll arrive, right? It's the, when, then kind of thinking. And so I didn't enjoy my life. I didn't go for walks after work. I didn't do all those things. I was in my 20s, by the way, everybody there. So on my 25th birthday, my husband was diagnosed with stage 4 cholangiocarcinoma. And 4 months later, he was gone. And in that moment, all the some days that I was working for, all the moments I gave up because later on I would enjoy it, was gone. And that is the thing that woke me up to live life the way I'm living it now. There is no someday. The only day that we are promised is right now. Right now, this moment you're watching right now, and I hope this is what you want to be doing. Okay. Because this is the only moment we're promised. Now that feels crazy. You go, yeah, but I'll feel it tomorrow. You're right. So what do we do when we are ambitious? But we also know that there's a very real chance this is it. That's the balance we have to live in. We have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There is no someday on the calendar. So if we're going to live this life, we're going to build this business, we're going to do all these ambitious things, then what today is the best day? If it wasn't a tomorrow. So can you today work on that future project and spend time with the people you want to spend time with? Make that phone call you've been meaning to call. Take that language lesson you've been meaning to take. Maybe it's not the whole course for the next 6 months. Maybe it's just 5 minutes. But that's the integration of growing a business that's based in values of living today the best way. Because I did that, guys. I did the someday, and I'm telling you, it does not pay off. We do not have control over this life, but we have power. And that is the power we have, is to choose how we show up for ourselves today and our business. So it was a bit of a soapbox there, but
No, I love it, Tanya. I love it. And I mean, of course, I know your story, and I don't love your story, but I love what you've overcome and what you've built from it. And as you're telling that story, I mean, I keep going back to this concept, this philosophy of like, what are people for? Go look at the sunset.
yeah,
Go enjoy
yeah,
the freaking flowers. Like, I have lavender in my yard right now, and every single time, I mean, it's just blooming like crazy. And every single time I'm like,
yeah.
this right here is
We,
life. And yesterday, my farmer friend, I can show you. Hold on one second. My farmer friend, I came home and I had a delivery. This was my delivery from my
oh,
farmer
it's
friend.
beautiful.
I mean, it
Beautiful.
made me cry, right? But like, this is what people are for. This is what we're
Yes.
for. And these heart conversations. And, I mean, Tanya, bless your heart, heard me, you've let me cry on your shoulder so many times, right? That's what people are for, not to like stay up till 3 trying to get the business thing just right. I mean, for goodness sake, this is our lives. And yes, we can run values led businesses without letting the business run us, right?
Yeah, yes. And remembering that we are one and the same, like those crying the shoulder, like you said, though, like there's so many people like, oh, I don't, that's that I do business. I do that. That's it. That's all part of it. The tears, frustration, the wins, the happiness, the email sequences, and the frustration with kids home in summer. It's all part of it. It's all
Yes,
part of it. And when we start addressing it in that totality, right? And that whole place.
exactly.
And I think that's the same thing in the work you're doing, is that it's not just this one area of the farming or of the food systems. It's looking at the totality of it. It's understanding the full impact of it. Then we are living those full lives. And then we can look around and go, oh yeah, this moment we forgot this is actually what it was all for.
Yeah.
It was all for this. I think that's a real beautiful sentiment to remember. I know I see Paul on there too, and I know he's in that
Yes.
same vein, that there's so grandeur and it gets so big. I mean, I'm from LA, right? And like I thought I was going to be jet setting, and that was what I wanted. And when I got to that point, I realized it's not. It's this. It's these little things and these little moments, and then you just kind of almost laugh and go, "What the heck?" So it's so simple. It's so simple. And a
Yeah.
lot of the clarity is not finding some magical answer. It's just taking off the layers of stuff that have just been hiding underneath of what we really need. And that's the values. Let's bring us full circle. That's where those values come. So forget the business, forget all the things in the end. Start with the value, because the more you know yourself and where you stand and what matters to you, where you're supposed to be or want to be is going to find you. You're going to find that path. But the more that we're disconnected from ourselves and we make it some other thing outside of us, business is complicated, careers are complicated, relationships are complicated. So come back to that.
Yep. And I was also going to give a quick shout out to Paul, because he's another one of us. Very values led
Yeah.
business, values led life. But also, Tanya, everything that you're saying, like, yes, of course. And I also want to throw in there the concept that our lives are filled with other people's choices.
Yeah.
And we have to deal with that. Like, that
Yeah.
is part of business. We're not going to write some perfect business plan and follow the yellow brick road and get exactly where it is we want to get in exactly that time frame, because life happens. And the
Yeah.
world happens. And we're living through multiple wars right now that, frankly, like, did you think we were going to be dealing with this in our 40s? Like, I didn't in
Right.
20s and 30s, but here we are. And we all have different relationship conflicts, and we have different things in our, like, I'm in the US. I know you're from the US, but you're in the Czech Republic. So we have things we have to deal with within our own governance structures
Yeah.
and in our own immediate geographical communities that are other people's choices that we have
Yeah.
to live with and to some extent either adapt to or choose something radically different, which puts us on a different trajectory than maybe we'd anticipated. And that's all part of business too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes it
It's,
sucks, right? Sometimes it just flat out sucks. That's your example from your 20s with your husband passing so
yeah.
young, so quickly. And it's part of it. And
Yeah.
everybody, oh, and I
Absolutely.
love this. You're going to love this too. You know that quote from The Princess Bride where he says, "Work, life is work, and anyone, or maybe he says, life is pain, and anyone trying to tell you differently is selling something." Right? That might be like an all the way extreme version of that. But the point is that we have to expect the unexpected. We have to know in business, in life, that our lives are filled with other people's choices. And then we have some choices in response to that.
Yeah. Well, and I think the more that we are able, again, similar to what we were saying about like coming back to ourselves, we're not given a lot of space in life to reflect on what we want, who we want to be. We're asked plenty of times what we want to do, how we want to make money, right? What do you want to be when you grow up? We've all been asked that, which is just a cute way to say, how do you want to make money when you get older? But we don't have the space of reflection to say, who do I want to be? How do I want to show up? How do I want to live? What matters to me? Any of those things. And so whatever path has brought you, unfortunately, more times than not, it is tragedy and what things. Sometimes it's a life change. Sometimes it's a business that's going to put you go, what really matters? And the more that you find either create the space or pay attention when life brings that space to you, and we do it without judgment, we do it with compassion and care, then I believe that when we find ourselves in the positions where it's very clear that we're being affected by other people's choices, we're able to have that same compassion or a lack of, non-judgment, either for them or for our situation in it. Right. So it comes back to how close are we being to ourselves? How are we saying what matters to us? And then when that outside thing comes, we can go, oh, I see that a mile away. It's on a line, run, run, or like, that's okay. That's fine. I can manage that. But it's all going to come back to us. And I'm going to say this it's responsibility. And that's not blame. That doesn't mean it's your fault. That doesn't mean it's your requirement. But responsibility means we have the ability to respond. That means even if somebody else is bringing it to us, I have the responsibility, the ability to respond to that situation.
I love that.
And that I get to do that. So yeah.
Yes. Whoa, such wisdom. Who knew? Wow. Business coaching is really about neuroscience, philosophy, and a big, healthy dose of wisdom.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you've been here and hanging around, thank you so much. I mean, again, I think the thing we've come back to is that, there's a couple of ways of doing business, but if you want to keep the humanity, you want to stick to who you are, then that is where it starts then. And we can drop all the old rules and all the things and come back to saying, what are my values? What matters to me? And we can let that lead our business. And it goes in practices, that goes in how we see ourselves in the business, the way that Liz shows up and the way that you're supporting people and all the different values and beliefs that you had to confirm and have and hold that conviction for to show up in the way you do. And it's hard and it's tough, but it's incredibly rewarding because we are us in the midst of it. Like I don't lose myself to my business. You are Liz in the middle of all of this. There's no betrayal happening. And that's what we get to do when we do it this way. So thanks to everyone for listening.
Yeah, and Tanya, what you're saying now, you're reminding me that so often that this values-based business, values-based life takes moral courage. And
Mm,
how that's something that's a skill we can learn, and it's a skill we can cultivate. And it really is.
Yeah.
Like, it depends on how you respond. Just what you were saying, your response, your ability to respond. How you respond to it depends on your ability to respond to it again later and what that looks like. So moral courage is an ingredient in that values-based life, values-based business. But um, Tanya, I think we don't have to wrap up right this second, but I want to make sure people know where to find you because, like I said at the beginning, Tanya is brand new to Substack. So y'all, please welcome her. Show her what Substack is all about. Go subscribe to her page. And this is your very first Substack Live. But where do people find
Thank
you
you
on
so much.
Substack and outside of Substack?
Yeah, so I am Tanya Marie Figueres-Kreisinger, more easily known as Tanya MFK. I am the only one in the world, so I'm quite easy to Google. So Tanya MFK, but you can find me Instagram, LinkedIn, all those places at Tanya MFK, also at TanyaMFK.com, as well as Modern Business Mastery. So, what was that? Is there anything else?
On Substack. Where are you on Substack?
Oh, yeah. And then here on Substack, I'm Tanya MFK as well. And I am new. So please come on through. Right now is similar, talking these kind of stories. I like to really share a lot of step-by-step details as well as kind of more conscious musings like this. But you'll get a bit dose of the analytical kind of clinical research side of me, which means you're going to get a lot of specific details of how to run a business. But then you'll also get some ideas of how to reconnect to your heart and your mind in the middle of all of that chaos. So yeah, please, I'd love for you to be there.
I want to just say that if you're curious about business development or business coaching, Tanya's not gimmicky. She's not gonna like push, buy the masterclass. There's none of that. So it's a very easy space to be in and heartfelt. And you're gonna get good advice and good information from Tanya without getting that constant push to buy. So it looks like we just lost Tanya on connection. But of course, I'm Liz Reitzig, Raw Milk Mama here on Substack. And if you're listening to this podcast, the Nourishing Liberty podcast, and you can find all of that on Substack, the podcast also on all the places where you can find a podcast. Thank you all for listening. And as I always say, eat for health, know your neighbor, and grow some food. Thanks so much for joining. Bye-bye.